why am I here? What, who am I? Why am I? That's all we do at Narrowgate. We answer those two questions. So here it is. If you could take 8 months, you don't have a bill to pay. You don't have not, it's all, everything's taken care of. It's all taken care of. You could take 8 months and you could get really honest about figuring out two things. Who are you? Like really, be yourself. What does that mean? Who am I? And if you can get your head wrapped around that identity, then you get to ask the second question. If that's who I am, then why am I here?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Disciple Dilemma. Identity and purpose. How in the world do you find that? How in the world do you find that in an environment of manufacturing stuff? Well, it's actually possible for the disciple-making process, the individual disciple-making process driving identity, passion, and purpose to exist in a company. And today to explain that, we have Bill and Stacy Spencer with Narrowgate. This is a great walk on what it actually means to make disciples and to do it in the workplace. Ready? Here we go.
Well, folks, this is a chance for us to travel to Duck River, Tennessee, which is someplace I've never been to before. You can look it up in your Google Maps. And I just want to thank Bill and Stacy Spencer for the adventure we're about to go on. Thanks for being with us today on the Disciple Dilemma.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having us. This is, in Duck River, we don't get a lot of opportunities like this. So we're grateful that somebody came to visit.
So let me just start out with this question. How in the world do you make a disciple? You guys are in this business and you're doing it in kind of an interesting way, but how are you going to explain to somebody, how do you Christians make a disciple?
Because the truth is, the way you make anything is to get your hands in it. It takes time, it takes relationship, it takes effort. So what did Jesus do? He gathered up a group of guys who basically had flunked out of school. If you think about it, I mean, these guys, they came through all the Jewish schooling system. They are not now disciples of any rabbi, which means they've got as far as they can go and they're done. So he took these guys and he gave them an invitation. Follow me. Think about all his instructions. Follow me, remain in me, right? Over and over and over. So get close to me. And then he did four things. He said, you watch me live my life. Watch me do it. Then you come and you do it with me. Do what I do, but do it alongside me. Then you go do it and I'll watch from a distance. And then at some point, I'm going to release you and say, you go do it. Now we're back to the Great Commission. That's what the Great Commission is. It's that fourth step in the you go do it. But the truth is, Jesus said, follow me, and he invited them into relationship. Not coffee once a week for 30 minutes. Relationship. Everywhere I go, everything I do, come and be with me. Because the world is full of data and statistics that say if you really want to have impact and formation, human formation, that happens through positive modeling, not through information exchange. Information exchange is great for task or framework or theory. But if you really want to form the human soul, that happens in positive modeling. That's the watch me do it and do it with me. And that's how we do it at Narrowgate. We make disciples by inviting guys to come and live with us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for an 8-month period of time at minimum. Usually it's years. And we say, watch us do it with us. You do it and we'll watch until you're ready. And then we're going to send you out to go replicate this.
Stacy, I need to ask you this question because the women that I've been talking with about this have said, you got to ask this question. Is it really true that guy to your left 22 years ago dragged two guys to your house, into your house in this kind of follow me thing? Is that true?
Absolutely. And he did it without asking me, by the way. Absolutely. But Bill and I had made a
Congratulations,
decision.
Bill. You are a member of the men's club.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bill and I had made a decision, though, that anything that the Lord asked of us, we were willing. And the first person that he brought into our sphere of influence was actually a homeless guy that we met at a homeless mission.
Okay, so just between us, we won't tell anybody. How much marriage counseling was required as a result of this
No.
process?
See, that's the cool thing about working with God.
Hmm.
The thing that he invites you into, he's already built you to do well if you'll just pay attention. Stacy and I we have this really unique relationship where we live together, we work together, we eat, sleep together, we do everything together. And for some reason, our personalities it just works. It just mesh. We don't fight. Like we don't
We know
argue.
we're weird. We know we're weird. We know we're unusual. But you know what? We think we were uniquely designed to do the thing that God asked us to do because you're right. We brought a homeless guy into our house. We brought a heroin addict into our house. I'd only been a Christian for 3 or 4 years, but my commitment to Christ was anytime, anywhere, anyway. And I was all in.
I love the way you guys have set this up, which is the idea, first of all, for Christians, instead of practicing what we often jokingly refer to, and we mean this in a nice way, not a mean way, churchianity, which gets you involved in a lot of institutional activities. Bill and Stacey are talking about this idea of there's a biblical model. It's inviting somebody, come follow me. It's relationship. It's not mass production. On we go with this relationship to build this capacity for someone, both in terms of who they are, identity, I suppose, is that passion, right? And
Yeah,
this
it.
idea of then purpose. So you guys are making some pretty amazing claims here. Identity, passion, and purpose. At the risk of someone saying, is that false advertising? What are you guys saying with that?
Behavior follows identity. So that first word you said, identity, that's everything. We have to get that established because who am I? I am a disciple of Jesus Christ who has been instructed to make other disciples. So now we're into passion, suffering. How badly do you want to do it? You know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people say they want to do a lot of things. The question is, at what cost? Jesus said you got to count the cost. You know, what man going to war, what man building. We all know those passages.
Tell me about the young men walking in your door at Narrowgate who are coming in with their own worldview, their identity, such as it is. How do these words resonate with today's Gen Zers, the people who are out there showing up at your door?
Well, I think we have to start by going back to the basics. And so the first part of Narrowgate is a an outdoor experience where we strip away, first of all, technology. Guys willingly give up their cell phone, they give up their driver's license, they give up their laptops, and they get back to the basics of life and get to ask the question, not what do I want, but what do I need? And when we level the playing field with 5 other guys in this class that they've never met before, and all of a sudden they are eating, sleeping, living with, working alongside complete strangers, something interesting starts to happen. And for the first time in a lot of these young men's lives, they're having real conversations. They're getting to know people at the same level we're experiencing the same circumstances. We also invite questions. Questions are a huge part of Narrowgate. We're not here to tell you answers. We like to say that discovered truth is more powerful than delivered truth.
Mm.
So at the beginning, we're going to talk about the validity of Scripture, and we're going to give guys an opportunity to challenge what they think about the Bible, what they think about the Bible as a source of truth. We're going to present ideas to them and questions for them to consider.
So, if you were to speculate based on your experience with the folks who've shown up on your doorstep, what's their identity as they walk in the door?
Where were you when you were 18? And how did you identify yourself? I remember people telling me, especially in high school, just be yourself. Like, what does that even mean? Be myself. I'm trying to figure that out. So what is their identity? These are 18 to 25-year-old young men, and usually they don't have one. Their identity is some meme or reel that they've put out online that people have somehow responded to. So you have to take those noises that Stacy was talking about and quiet those down. And instead of interactions being doom scrolling 7 seconds at a time on whatever reel you get to pop up, Instead of that, what if identity is formed in a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week relationship over an extended period of time? I mean, you got to remember, Dennis, we're not trying to change the world, man. Jesus already changed the world. The truth is, the world just is what it is. We're not trying to change the world. We're trying to change the world for somebody.
Folks, we're talking with Bill and Stacy Spencer with Narrowgate, Duck River, Tennessee. And when we come back, we're going to get into the idea of what in the world does leather, coffee, box beams, a bridge, and a lodge have to do with making disciples. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Folks, welcome back to the Disciple Dilemma. We are talking with Bill Stacy Spencer at Narrowgate in Duck River, Tennessee, which is close to Franklin, which is close to Nashville, which is where all things apparently happen in the world of really terrific disciple making as I see it lately. But we're going to pitch a really tough hardball question at these two and watch them deal with it. I've heard you giving us this description about the individual and the relationship of one to one or one to very few, kind of sub five, right? In this relationship thing of building and making disciples. And I'm about to turn the page and I'm going to be looking at an enterprise, a conglomerate, an organization, and it's got all this stuff going on, which tells me, because I'm in the business world, right? Mass production's the way you get stuff done. And churches have for a long time thought about mass production's the way you get the disciples done. So are you guys just selling me kind of an individual story and all of a sudden you're going to kind of bait and switch me and say, no, we got this production line where we're making disciples with the stuff that we do? That's one. And number two, what's the stuff that you do? Take us on a walk.
Yeah, the bait and switch thing, absolutely. This is where we pivot and ask if you want to buy a bag of coffee from us. So, no, look, mass production. Okay, did Jesus mass produce disciples? But you have to go back and you have to say, where did Jesus start? And he took a dozen guys. Yeah, and I know he was preaching to 5,000 men, and that's maybe 12,000 people. And at some point, he had 70 that he sent out and all that. But at the end of the day, there were 12. And even in that 12, there were three that were really special to him, Peter, James, and John. And even then, after one of those guys, spun out, Judas did what he did. He reclaimed Paul and brought him back into the fray. And we know Paul disappears right after his conversion. And then he opens the book of Galatians by saying, the things that I taught to you were taught to me by no man, rather by the risen Christ. So you get the feeling Jesus worked one-on-one with him. But these are small numbers. We're trying to change the world for somebody. Because if that somebody goes out and does what they do, and we do that in multiplicity, one will get you two, will get you four, will get you eight. And we can get there more slowly, but more effectively over time. So the enterprises you're referring to, we have a wood business, we have a coffee business, we have a leather business. We house them in this thing called Narrowgate Artisans. We believe that one of the great emergences, one of the great opportunities for the church in the coming years is in the market space. So how about if we just be the church in the middle of the workspace? So we launched out and said, what if we started making product? Because think about it. If we take raw coffee beans and convert them into something that's beautiful and useful, because our coffee is amazing. If you want to buy a bag, it's really, really good. There's the cross-sell. If we make some beautiful product out of a raw good, isn't that a metaphor for what God's doing in us? It takes time, it takes effort, it takes expertise, it's craft. What about wood? If we take raw wood and turn it into something that's architecturally beautiful for your house, it makes a difference in the environment where you live. Isn't that a metaphor for what's happening in us? If we take leather, raw leather hides, and we make heirloom quality Bibles that you can pass down to grandchildren. I mean, I know this sounds like a sales pitch, but this is what we live. So now we say, if we do those things, do we have to be the biggest, baddest entity at doing them? And the answer is no. We have to be big enough to pay our bills, pay our people, and generate enough income that we can return that back to the place we began that we were originally talking about, Narrowgate Lodge, to keep that experience tuition free for the young men who choose to walk in on day one.
if I were really to play with this for a moment, I could potentially, watching this, say, okay, you're getting these guys and you're giving them a free ride, then you're bringing them in there and you're running them on a manufacturing line, and you got to deal with inventory, and you got to deal with cash flow, and you got to deal with profitability. So, I mean, how does a box beam and a bag of coffee and some leather turn into a disciple? I mean, how do you just, like, give me just a 30-second on how you do that? Because I'm thinking, if I'm there working with something as an artist, I'm not thinking about anything else, right? What are you really telling us and showing us and making happen? What's the magic?
Yeah. Well, let's answer it plainly. A box beam has nothing to do with making a disciple. A bag of coffee has nothing to do with making a disciple. But you're going to do something with the hours of your day. Now, if you go work in a place where you're doing what you described, I'm working by myself on a production line. I got ear
Earbuds.
protection in and eye protection and heart. Okay, great. But that's not our world. We have people that work collaboratively to do projects. Our wood shop has more than one person in it. Our coffee roasting, we have more than one person. Our leather, more than one person. We're forcing relationship in the most dominant, time-consuming environment in any of our worlds, which is occupation.
And pressure packed
Yeah.
environment, right?
So, number one, this is not about the product, it's about the relationships in the workspace.
I love where you started taking this, and I want to follow up on this word, guys. You talked about replicating. Now, hang on. I'm supposed to become a follower of Jesus, join a church, sit in the pew, nod my head, put a little money in the plate, go home. What is this replicating stuff you're talking about? Would you please open that up?
I can give you an example. The second dude that moved in our house, he was a heroin addict. He'd been to 7 different recovery facilities. None of them introduced him to Jesus. They just taught him methods for trying to manage behavior and habits. When he met Jesus, everything in his life changed. He came from a completely unchurched family. That entire family within 1 year all became believers because of the change they saw in his life. And today, that guy's the senior pastor of a 3,500 member church. He's having incredible impact on a one-on-one, small-scale, growing community. That's what we're looking for. That's our fruit. I just wanted to change the world for him. He'll go change the world for the people he interacts with.
So let me just give you one question that one Gen Zer tossed out as I was describing what we were about to discuss with you on Narrowgate.
Okay.
Okay, sounds really good. Then I walk over and I take your Bible and I open it to Matthew chapter 16 and go to verse 24, and it says something about, you're giving me this really good deal so I can deny myself, take up my cross, and a few other places it talks about dying to self.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me why this is a good deal for me and why this really is going to make me amped up? I mean, I don't like the fine print that you guys are offering me here.
Yeah. It's a great question, isn't it? I'm curious what you told him when he asked you.
Yeah, well, that was good.
Thanks, man.
That was
I've
really good.
got my answers. I just wanted to hear yours. But
Well, I started out with this point, and I think this matches what I'm hearing from all of you today, which is that whether you want to recognize it or not today in culture, you are already enchained, enshackled, enslaved, and you are dying away. And so what I'm trying to suggest is we're enslaved to social media, we're enslaved to our particular lifestyle, to the way we think about sexuality, to the way we think about meaning, destiny, and those sorts of things. And what I think Christ is saying to all of us over and over again in some fascinating ways is this magnificent contrast between this burden about denying and dying is actually quite light. And in fact, you are enshackling yourself as a bondservant, yes, unshackling yourself from being a slave to this other stuff, and you're beginning the only possible journey you can take that will bring you identity and ultimately passion, ultimately purpose. Now,
Okay, here's the thing. Let's go back and ask a different question. In Narrowgate, we say the power is always in the questions. It's discovered truth is more powerful than delivered truth. I want them to answer the question. I don't want to answer it for them. So when they say, "What about this passage?" Let's ask some questions about that passage. Deny yourself. Let's just talk about you for a minute. You're talking to me, so evidently you don't have the world on a string right now. You're not living the absolute contented, fulfilled life that you want to live because you're exploring something just by talking to me. So let's just ask it for a second. What do you think is going to be the key that's going to give you the kind of happy, fulfilled, purposeful, satiated life that you're looking for? Do you think it's going to be getting more of what you currently have? Because I can introduce you to countless people who have woken up one day and said, I've had success, but I don't have significance.
Okay, my last question for you comes from a young investment banker on Wall Street in New York. And he said, looks like a great model. I'm 24. I ain't going to be leaving Wall Street in the next 3 years. I'm a hostage inside my investment bank. I
Yeah,
can't come to Narrowgate. What's plan B for me?
yeah.
Mm, mm, mm,
What a great question, man.
mm.
So we've got a lot of graduates. Like I got a guy getting a PhD in anesthesiology, and he's already, signed on a deal with a local group in North Carolina. I got a dude finishing law school. I got a guy who works for Deloitte as a forensic accountant. Da 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 da. Those guys are not leaving their jobs. They're locked into contracts. They're like your Wall Street guy. And they ask the same question. Okay, so what do I do? The thing is, they all have the gift of having come through Narrowgate. So they use the resources that we use to start discussions. We've got a whole series of books called Narrowgate Notes on, and then a topic. And they'll take those books, and the purpose of those books is not to spit out information that somehow is going to change. Information doesn't change people. Information is a building block that you use in relationship for transformation. So they'll take those books and they'll say, "Hey, you guys want to join me for breakfast or join me for lunch, and let's just start a book club and let's read this book together because every other page in the books are just blank lined pages. You're just writing down your thoughts, your conversations with God as you go through it. Invite somebody to just read a book."
Stacy, I totally get the ministry now, and it's beautiful, and I love it. What about the women? You guys have just completely cut the women out. What about the women?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Here's the real answer. And you may not include this, but God did not call us to women's ministry because he knew that we are not wired for women's ministry. And that sounds so crazy coming from a woman, but I can tell you, I'm not wired for women's ministry. And Bill tells me he would not know what to do at all with women.
But what has happened at Narrowgate Artisans is all kinds of opportunities for women to join Narrowgate Artisans. That's all come along. And right now, about a fourth of our employee base at Narrowgate Artisans are female. So we have Narrowgate for women. We do it in the workforce, and there isn't anybody that can't do that.
Is if there is anybody who would love to do narrow gate for women, you can call it whatever you want. We are an open book. Everything that we have has been given to us by God and by faithful, generous other people who have come alongside us over this 20 years. We freely give that away. So we've helped some other men's ministry with some of our curriculum and shared, some of our best practices and how we do in applications. And so if there's a woman out there or a church out there and they're like, man, we want to do this, but we want to make it for women, let us know. We'd be more than happy to help out in any way we can.
So, as we get ready to take this to the last lap, I want to give you the last word.
My last haunting word would be if you do not truly understand your identity in Christ, not just understand it, but if you are not actively living that out, I want to challenge you to do that because as you do that, you will be transformed into the purpose that God has for your life. Letting go of our identity that we had built for ourselves, embracing the identity that Christ is our life, and now He wants to live His life through me. has been the greatest adventure.
Folks, while we're talking, you're seeing the icons. You've seen it throughout the podcast with narrowgate.org, which is their website. You can go out and take a look at that. Also, the contact information that they've so graciously volunteered to give us is there. I want to thank you both, Bill and Stacy, for being with us today and having a fabulous conversation on disciple making, on the disciple dilemma. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much. We appreciate it. It was fun.
Would you help the church think more about discipleship? Would you help us get the conversation started to talk about the biblical discipleship Jesus gave us? Please follow us. Our website, www.thediscipleddilemma.com. You can find us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and all the RSS feeds. If you'd follow or like us, you'll help us get leverage in the digital marketplace to talk about the fact that discipleship needs to be talked about. And as always, folks, thanks for listening.